Okay, hey guys, Maddie here, aka Recon G. I'm just kidding. I'm making this special video real quick. Let's see what's going on today. I woke up late for class, so I just decided, okay, I'm not even gonna try to go to class. I'm just gonna skip it. We're just gonna review whatever. So I'm home right now. I'm sitting on my recliner. I'm not like my usual desk where you maybe I've done videos before or on my main channel or on Section 80 or whatever. I'm just getting distracted. Anyways, we recently hit my fucking hair. Sorry guys, I'm tired. We recently hit. Let me fix my hair real quick. We recently hit 300 subs on this YouTube channel, which I am so happy about. Like, it's not that much. I know 300 subs isn't that much. Like, trust me, guys, it's not that much. But like, it means a lot to me, at least. And then also, like, we haven't uploaded a podcast in like 2 weeks now, guys. Trust me. Friday, be on the lookout. We will have a new podcast out as we're gonna be recording Thursday. We've all been really fucking busy this like the past 2 weeks. We just can't really organize shit. Sorry. Hopefully, you guys have been enjoying How to Survive in the Music Industry, as that's kind of been the makeup. I might drop the raw interview with Fantano at some point because we had like a really long interview that was really good that I think you guys should listen to instead of just like an edited down version of it. Anyways, yeah, we hit 300 subs, and I guess I'm gonna try to use this opportunity to talk about some of the people that So you can hear my phone. I just got a notification from Facebook. This video is not professional. I'm doing this shit raw. Like, okay. But I want to make this video to kind of thank everyone who, first off, who listened to the podcast, and I want to thank everyone who has been a part of the podcast. I mean, I want to talk about everyone real quick. Uh, let's see. What we got? What we got? Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm like, let me check Facebook very quickly. Okay, just checking the set times. All right, whatever. So let's talk about everyone on the podcast, I guess, because that's what I'm gonna do. So number one, okay, let's go with everyone. I want to talk about everyone. I really want to talk about everyone because I have something to say. AJ. So AJ is one of the original members that we had. The OG members are basically anyone who was on the first like 5 or 6 podcast. But AJ was on the first podcast, so he's the OG crew. And AJ's kind of been on and off on the podcast. Like, recently, for when we kind of made a comeback, I guess. Not really a comeback, but whenever, like, I think it was around like basically around the time of the podcast awards. AJ started coming back on the podcast a lot more often. He was a lot less busy with school, so he's on the podcast more often. He's in the chat more often. He's a great guy, seriously great guy. Really not really not. I was gonna say really knowledgeable about music, but yeah, really knowledgeable about music. Really funny. Great charisma. Just he's so great on the podcast. He's one of my favorite members to have on the podcast. Like whenever we have a podcast and he says he can't be on, I get really sad because it's like, damn, he's so good. I don't even care if he's not prepared, but I really want him because he's just so good. So yeah, AJ, I love AJ. Alex is also, let's see, Alex is not OG crew. He's not in the original crew, but kind of it feels like he is. I think because he's been with us so long and he's been like such a big part of the podcast and getting us together and whatnot. Like he's our producer. He's kind of helped run some of our social media, help with the blog. Like he recently he updated our blog like 2 months ago, I think. It looks a lot better now. You can get like staff bios and whatnot. It's great. He's also done a couple. He's done some recording also for the podcast and a couple other things. And Alex is just again super nice guy. I love him so much. Alex, I love you. Hopefully again we get to hang out at Pitchfork this year. As oh, if you guys don't know, Pitchfork. A couple of us gonna be at Pitchfork this year. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I think almost all of us have bought our tickets. We're just trying to book rooms and shit right now. So yeah, Alex, I love you. You're great. I love you, man. So let's continue on with who we have on the podcast. Ali. Ali, I don't have. I mean, here's the thing with Ali. I don't have much to say, and that's not an insult to him. It's just like, I mean, if you know Sal on the podcast, he doesn't really say that much that often. Because I think he like some of us on the podcast, including myself, we're just powering personalities that it's kind of hard for some people to break through. And Ali is not one of the people who breaks through. But again, it's still though. But I think Ali is like important. It's important to have the people on the podcast who are kind of more of the straight man and kind of are there just sort of to kind of realize the chaos and go, oh my god, like I mean, I gotta be fucking normal. We can't have a podcast of completely ridiculous people. We have to have the occasion. We have to have some normal people. And Ali is a normal person. And Ali, of course, from my interactions with him in the podcast chat, really nice guy, really great guy, um, very helpful with stuff. I don't know. I feel like I feel like he hasn't really been in the chat as much lately. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. But again, I love Ali. He's great. I have no issues with him, obviously. So hey, Ali's amazing. I love him. So let's see. Arthi. Arthi's someone who's been sort of a sparingly hasn't really been on the podcast for months now. I think her mic's broke. Actually, is it a month? It's definitely not a year, but it's like really close to a month. Um, yeah, definitely close to a month though. It's been months. Mike's broke, but Arthi also hasn't really hung out in the chat that much because I think she's busy with high school and shit. So I mean, I understand. But Arthi is great. I love Arthi. Really nice, extremely nice. Maybe not the best person on the podcast, but here's the thing: I'm not the best person on the podcast. Like I've had really bad podcasts before where I just fucking suck. Like I'm that Deer Hunter podcast we did with like Spectrum Pulse. It sucks that we were so bad on that podcast because like Mark was so great and we were just so bad. Um, yeah, but what am I talking about that? But anyway, Arthi, this is like I said, the videos raw, so raw. It's raw and uncut. These are my honest thoughts on everyone on the podcast. But no, Arthi's great. Again, gets to kind of join in on the pavement circle jerks that Jeremiah likes to start, which I'll get to Jeremiah. Trust me, guys, I'll get to him. But yeah, Arthi is great. Love her. Um, Dylan. Dylan is our newest member, and I've known Dylan on Reddit and on Twitter for a few months now, and my interactions with him were really good. And I'm like, I think Will came to me and was like, "Hey, why don't we just add this guy to the podcast? Like, he's really good. Like, we all like him, so why don't we just add him?" And I'm like, "Huh, okay. Well, like, I didn't. Guess I'll just message him." Messaged him on Twitter. He said, "Oh yeah, sure." And then great. Dylan is again. He's fit in extremely nicely to the podcast. Like it just seems like he's always been there. Like there isn't like with some people we've added. I won't name names, but there's some people we've added where they've come into the chat and they don't really mesh very well. They just don't really get us, or they're not really trying to get us very well. Um, but Dylan got us right away, and he fit in just perfectly. And I really can't wait to have him on more podcasts because he's seeing again. He knows a lot about music, and he's great, and he offers like really he offers different opinions, which is always nice to have to kind of break away from the circle jerk, as he's essentially like our electronic music expert at the moment, which I think Stefan is too. Which again, Stefan, I'm gonna go through everyone in order of like alphabetical order because this is how this shit goes. How long has this video been so far? Okay, it's 8 minutes. Okay, we're not doing too bad. We're not doing too bad at all. Ethan, where would this podcast be without Ethan? Now, Ethan, he hasn't really showed up on the podcast as much anymore, and he hasn't really done as much behind the scenes work. But that's because he laid the groundwork of like for this shit. Like without him, we would not be on iTunes. Like we're on iTunes because of him, and it's fucking great. YouTube. He's helped out with everything. He's helped out with social media. He's helped out with YouTube. Helped book us so many fucking interviews that it's insane. Like he's booked us a lot of really great interviews. Some controversial ones, obviously. Like I think the Jamie Kilstein one was a little controversial, and the War on Woman one was controversial. But again, he's booked a lot of our guests. Like most of the people you see on the podcast, those are booked by Ethan. Although I think it's like more like when it comes to who we get on the podcast, it's like 70. It's like 60-40, like 60 Ethan, 40 me, and like I think Will and a couple other people are trying to start booking people now. But anyways, yeah, Ethan is great, and Ethan's also the only podcast member that I've met IRL. Like we met at a record. Like oh my god, this is back in like August. and I snuck into St. Louis. What? Like, it sounds like the thing is my parents don't really like me. At least at that time, didn't really like me driving to St. Louis by myself. So I essentially just was like, fuck it, I'm gonna drive to St. Louis. Drove to St. Louis. Drove to a record store. There's fucking Ethan. We met. We talked for like I think we were there for like 45 minutes, just hanging out and talking, and it was fucking great. And Ethan's again, so Ethan's a great guy. He won't be at Pitchfork with us this year, which sucks. But hopefully, I get to meet him again sometime because he's a great guy. Has seriously helped us out so much. I owe so much to Ethan for like helping with this podcast because this podcast would not be anywhere without Ethan. Seriously though, like if it was just me, this podcast would not go as far as it has without Ethan. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, let's see, Jake. Jake also one of our newer members. I think he's been on. He's been on for like 2 or 3 months now. Again, has naturally fit into the chat pretty well. Is again kind of like Ali, where he's a bit more quiet on the podcast. But again, I think you need the straight man. You need sort of the normal man to kind of help reel everyone in a little bit. And Jake is one of those people. Again, Jake is again. I think we added Jake because we all liked him on the subreddit. We all thought he was a great member, and like he's done a number of write ups for us. Like I think I think he did the most popular FYC write up, which was Amnesiac, and he's done a couple of Essential Albums of the Week. So we're like, fuck it, let's go. Let's see if he. I think let's see. I'm trying to remember. Did we come to him or did he come to us? Jake, in the comments, can you clarify this? Did you come to us or did we come to you? Thanks. Yeah, but yeah, whatever it was, Jake. Again, he's been on the podcast for months now. He's been a great addition. I really like him a lot. Gonna be meeting him at Pitchfork this year, hopefully. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And next, Jeremiah. Jeremiah, boy. Oh god. It's okay, Jeremiah. So I love Jeremiah. I love Jeremiah. I know I've said that about everyone that I love everyone, but like Jeremiah is one of the original members. He's OG crew. Oh god, I'm looking at the bags of my eyes. They're so fucking bad. I forgive me for looking like shit in this video, guys. I just don't fucking care. Um anyways, Jeremiah. I fucking love Jeremiah. Again, God, do I even Jeremiah is a trip. He's a trip. And that's not just like that's no pun intended. He's a trip. Wait, did I say trip? There's no pun. He's Kill a Trap. Fucking, I'm a dumb. Okay, anyways, Kill a Trap. Jeremiah, love him to death. He's again he in my opinion. I know this is again some podcast members. If you watch this video, I'm sorry. This is again I'm being honest. Jeremiah is my favorite member of the podcast. At least on the podcast, he's my favorite member because he is so entertaining. He knows a lot about music, and then just knowing him like from the stuff he tells us about his life, like holy fucking shit, this dude is crazy. Like, I mean, he's not doing crazy shit, but it's like, dude, what the fuck is your like? I think I have to ask like every month, like, dude, what the fuck is your life? Like, your life is fucking crazy, dude. Like, what are you getting to next? And then drunk Jeremiah. Drunk Jeremiah is like normal Jeremiah, like sober Jeremiah. That's already a trip, but drunk Jeremiah, like you have to see it to believe it. And I think he's been drunk on Red before, so maybe you guys have seen that. But like it's dawning on me, like in July, I'm going to see drunk Jeremiah in the flesh. Like I'm going to see drunk Jeremiah. It's gonna be great. But yeah, Jeremiah's gonna be a Pitchfork. I'm super excited to meet him. Like he's definitely someone I'm so excited to meet because like getting a little serious, like I think everyone has helped me with my personal life shit, but like of everyone, I think Jeremiah has helped the most with my personal life shit because we've had a couple late night, chats in the podcast about our life and what's going on, and yeah, and Jeremiah has been a serious help in my personal life. Like I really am like so fucking grateful to that dude. He's the best. Like I love him. Like I love him a lot. He's so great. I think again, like I said, everyone's helped me out. Like I think if I can name everyone who's helped me out with my personal life shit. Alex has really helped me out. AJ's helped me out. Arthie's helped me out. Ethan, Jake, Jeremiah. I mean, almost everyone has helped me out with my personal life shit. But Jeremiah is the one that I think has kind of impacted me the most. Like I think knowing Jeremiah, he's definitely like the person of the podcast that's impacted me most as a person, like who has affected my personality and my taste in music and whatnot. So yeah, Jeremiah, I love him. Josiah, not a new member, but he isn't on that often. I think we had him back in like October or September. But yeah, Josiah's great. He's been helping us out with start trying to getting a pitchfork off the ground. Like he's gonna be a pitcher with us. But Josiah hasn't been on the podcast enough, which sucks. I want him on the podcast more because I think he's really, again, really cool guy in the chat, and also like kind of like Jeremiah has some really interesting stories about his life. So yeah, sorry if I don't have much to say, Josiah. Like, I just don't know. I want to know you better. But yeah, Josiah's great. Keaton, God, Keaton, please, if you're watching this video, please show up in the chat more, man. Because like you were gonna show up in the chat more, and then like you stopped, and I'm like sad. Because you're such an interesting fucking person. Like Jeremiah's already. I mean, Jeremiah's interesting, but like Keaton, like whenever he joined, like I think I was talking with Sarah, who again, I'll get to. I'm gonna get to everyone. Trust me. I was talking with Sarah privately, and I'm like, this dude's a fucking hippie. Like, this dude's a real fucking hippie. And we're like, let's see how this shit goes. And he ends up being like one of our best members on the podcast because he's fucking like he's really interesting and like he's such a nice guy and he's so smart. It's like, why, like, how do we get someone like this on our podcast that's this interesting and this smart and this cool? So yeah, Keaton, great. Please show up in the chat more, man. I love you. Nick hasn't again has been sort of on and off when it comes to the podcast. He hasn't been on in a while. But again, Nick is OG crew. He's been on the podcast since the beginning. And so, but yeah, he hasn't really showed up in which again he was the youngest member. I think he's the youngest member now on the podcast. So I can kind of see why he doesn't show up as often anymore because he's kind of got like probably personal life shit he wants to kind of go through. Um, anyways, oh shit, I don't know. But yeah, Nick, please show up in the chat more if you're watching this. I think you're great. Again, on the podcast, he sort of offers a really interesting sort of insight, in the time because he's kind of like on the podcast that I've been on with him, he's kind of been my anchor or like the yin and yang to me. Like I do fucking something stupid, he calls me out on it and like gets mad at me. Like that dynamic has been really cool. I think and the only podcast that we've done with two people, not including a guest, was with Nick. And that podcast was disastrous. It sucked because it was one of our like it wasn't one of our first, but it was definitely like an early podcast. And it was just like we have to get a fucking episode out. And I think right after we did the first late night, and that was great. But yeah, Nick, great. Please show up on the chat more. Please show up on the podcast more. We love you, man. Um, 18 minutes, Jesus Christ. I'm so sorry, guys. Um, let's see. Sarah. Sarah definitely could show up. I mean, Sarah has been sort of hasn't been nice work, Sarah. Sarah hasn't really been in the chat as often lately, the past few months, because like out of everyone, she has her shit together the most. Like she has a fucking like she has an actual like social life. She has like a legitimate job, like a really legitimate great job. That's like that I'm jealous that she has. And but again, I guess with Sarah, I'm talking about how I just love everyone. I have stories. I haven't really told any stories about everyone, I guess, because some of them are like personal life shit, and I don't really feel like telling them. But Sarah, I can talk about this one because I've talked about it before on Reddit. Um, so I talk so from March to September. I usually say March to May. I've usually said March to May, but it's been more. It was more than that because summer was fucking rough. Um, from March to May, um, I still suffer from depression, which again it's undiagnosed. So hey, you can call me on it. But I've had depression for over a year now, and it really started like really get into place around like March of last year. And from March of last year to like May, I was in a terrible fucking state. Like I was I was in a terrible fucking state. I was not well. I felt fucking empty. Which, if you guys don't know, I had a bad breakup. It fucked things up for me a lot. I won't get into this, get it too much. Which again, if you want to know the story, go find my playlist Thursday that I did. I kind of talk about everything. Anyways, I was not fucking well. The only things that were giving me like some type of purpose in life, was doing video editing for my class, doing PSAs and whatnot, the podcast, and then just like let me fucking graduate. I just want to graduate. Just get this over with. So in May, I come to the chat. I come to the chat again to complain about my breakup, and Sarah essentially was the person who was like, "Hey, like, you need to stop." Like, she was the person who told me, like, "Hey, you have totally have the right to be sad about this, but you cannot mope for too fucking long. Otherwise, it's going to eat you. It's going to hurt you." And she basically was the person like, "Hey, you have to force yourself out of this funk you're in, okay?" And some people may say that's mean, but it was tough love. It was like, "Hey, get your shit together, dude, because like you can't be sad about this forever." And I'm still sad about it, but it's like I'm less sad. Like I've gotten my shit together. I found someone else. We broke up. Still reeling from that shit. God, won't get into it too much. But Sarah was the person who essentially kind of was got me out of the worst stage of my depression. Like with her words, like she was the catalyst for that. So I thank you, Sarah. I love you. Please show up on the podcast and chat more. But when you don't have a social life again. Yeah. Let's see, Stefan. Okay, Stefan is fucking great. I love this Stefan. He doesn't show up in the chat as often as he used to, but he still shows up in the chat. Like because he like when he comes back, he's like, "Damn, I haven't been in the chat in a while." And it's like, "God, welcome back, Stefan. We missed you." Again, Stefan really knowledgeable about music. I think again one of the reasons we added him is because like he wrote some of the best FYCs we've ever done. I think he maybe wrote a couple of essential threads. I'm not sure. Anyway, Stefan's fucking great. I love Stefan. Like he's so knowledgeable about music. He's great on the podcast. He's a straight man. He's a straight man who still like has a lot of insight. Um, he's just like show up in the chat more often, and he's really funny too. Like apparently he's a stand up comic. He hasn't showed up. Hey Stefan, if you're watching this, I want to see some of your stand up comedy. Okay, like please, someone film it and then send it to me. Just me though. Don't put it up on YouTube. Just send it to me. I want to see it. Okay, I won't show anyone. Okay, trust me. Trust me. Um. So yeah, Stefan, please show up in the podcast more. I love you, man. Let's see. Will. 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 Will was something. Will was a little different. Oh God, hold on. Sorry, I just remember I messaged someone on Facebook. Okay, I'll get to it later. Will. Will's had as like a really interesting history on the podcast. As I will be flat out and just say this. When he joined whenever I was like the first podcast he was on, I wasn't on. Like I was in Chicago. So going off the bat, Will and I did not like Will at first. I did not. I thought he was annoying. I thought he was, I thought he was really annoying and didn't really like him on the podcast. And then I won't say, but there was something that happened with him in the chat that we were like, do we want to fire this guy? And we all decided eventually, like, hey, give him a second chance. It's no big deal. But since then, since that event sort of happened, I love Will. Will has gone from one of my least favorite members to like one of my favorite members because I got used to his voice. He kind of chilled out a little bit. He stopped drinking like regularly a few months ago, and he's been like a better person because of it. Um, I love Will. I think again has a lot of really interesting insights on the podcast. His really unique personality. Is kind of a very knowledgeable straight man who isn't super ridiculous, but is like strong enough of a personality to reel us in sometimes. So we have again, Will and I have a great dynamic. I love Will. I love Will. Sucks he can't come to Pittsburgh with us, man. But seriously, I can't. I really want to meet you sometime. But yeah, this video is like fucking 20, 24. It's over. It's 25. It's gonna be 25 minutes. I know it. Okay, and last but not least, Zach. Um, Zach, again, one of our additions from like September, hasn't been on the podcast that often. Uh, God, can I be honest with this one? I said I'm gonna be honest. Okay, Zach is a really nice guy. Really nice guy. Um, I think like I want him on the podcast more because I want to kind of give him like I want him on more often and more frequently because I see little like I see a lot of potential in him. Like I see, I sound so fucking stupid, but I see a lot of potential in him. But like because he's so infrequently on the podcast, like he can't really fulfill that. So it's like I want you on more, so like because like I gotta get you out of your shell a little bit. I should feel more natural sometimes. So yeah, I love Zach. He's great. Yeah, that's everyone that is currently on the podcast chat. There's a couple people I'm missing that have been on the podcast. Let's see, Lucas. Lucas left recently. We don't really talk about when people leave the podcast. It's just like because in general the cast is like a revolving door of members, so it's like you leave, okay, whatever. Lucas left recently. Kind of no fanfare, just kind of left the chat. But sucks he left. He was really smart, really knowledgeable, had a really good voice. Yeah. Renee. Um, we had our issues with Renee, and she ended up leaving. She ended up leaving after we kind of. Here's the thing: if you're not here's the thing, we as time has gone on, we've taken the podcast more seriously. So if you're not living up to if you're not up to standards, we're gonna comment on it a little bit. And she ended up leaving after kind of real after we kind of gave her some critique. And but again, I still have again Renee and I are still cool. Like I go in the Slack chat and we talk every so often, and she's great. Um, just wasn't right for the podcast, and sometimes you're not always right for the podcast, and that's all right. But yeah, Renee's great. I maybe down the line we can add her back. Who knows? Ted. Ted also was someone we had some critiques about. Left. Still friends with Ted. He's done numerous FYCs for me since leaving the podcast, and he's been great. Really good writer. He's great. Um, is there anyone I'm missing? I feel like these people I'm forgetting. Bert. Bert was one of the OG crew. He left a while ago. Without Bert, we would not have our first podcast out because we fucked up the recording of it and we didn't know how to use Audacity at that time. So he fixed the podcast and was like, "Oh, we're good now! Yay! Woo!" But yeah, that's about. I feel like I'm miss. I mean, if I'm missing other people, it's just people who were in the chat and then left before being on the podcast. Um, hmm. So yeah, I think it's about it. I think it's everyone. But finally, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone who's listened to a podcast, who's watched a podcast, who's watched our interviews, watched a show, watched anything from us, watched FYC. Which, by the way, FYC, it will be back in May. Okay, trust me, it will be back in May when I have some time on my hands where I can really work on it. Okay, please stay with me. Um, but yeah, um, thank you guys for 300. Seriously, thank you guys. Hopefully we get to 500. Hopefully we get to 1,000. Hopefully we continue to grow and get bigger. Because I want to keep doing this podcast for as long as possible because I love everyone involved and it's so fun to do, even if it's kind of a nightmare to get together sometimes. So yeah, new podcast on late Thursday, early Friday. Be on the lookout for that. We're going to be talking about MA3. We'll be talking about Deacon. We're talking about Parquet Courts. Yeah. Um, thank you guys for 300. Thank you. Seriously. Thank you. Yeah. I'm going to go get ready for school now.